Do you feel like you have a problem accomplishing your goals? Like there's an invisible something holding you back that you can't quite put your finger on? Like you know what to do, you already know how to do it, you already have the drive and ambition to get it done, but for some reason you just can't make yourself move when it's time to get it done. This is my entire life story, and if it's yours, this video is for you. I had all of these problems before I read the 12-week year. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So, hopefully, if you have some of these problems, the 12-week year can help you take care of them as well. So, what is the 12-week year? It's like a book, it's a field. Actually, it's both of those things, and I have them both. So, it's a book, and then a field guide and an audio book. But it's a book on how to get more done in 12 weeks than others do in 12 months. It'll give you a whole bunch of perspective changes that'll lead you to like a new way of thinking, more productivity, and to honestly just feel more fulfilled when you're trying to accomplish your goals. One of the reasons that I stumbled upon this book is because I wanted a way to help make myself get things done, a way to be more accountable with content creation. So I've known for a long time that content creation is pretty much going to be a way of life for everyone and everything to a certain point, right? So I was trying to do that to create consistent content on LinkedIn, but for some reason I just could not get my body to move when it was time to make the things and post the things. Like, and I looked through all these creators, and see what they were doing and tried some of their things, and then one of them actually led me to this book, the 12-week year. So I was like, okay, I mean, what else do I have to lose? So I gave it a try, right? Now, the first time I read it, I'm on like the fifth time or whatever reading it because it's so good. I keep going back to it. But the first time I read it, I remember I remember feeling so inspired. I remember feeling like, oh, bitch, I could do anything. And even though I still feel like that every time I read the book, there's just something about reading a book for the first time that gives you that perspective switch that just really changes everything. And that's really how it happened for me. So I hope that if you read it, it definitely happens for you. Another reason I read this book was because even though I knew what I needed to do and I had the time and I had the energy, I had a problem executing on my goals, like actually doing what I needed to do to reach my goals. And because of that, I didn't feel, I don't know, happy, fulfilled, satisfied. Like I felt like I wasn't moving forward in life. So I wanted something that was going to help me move forward. I think if you read this book, you'll get some of these things. These are the things that I've gotten from it. First, like a renewed confidence, like a new trust in my ability to just get shit done. I also gained like a new system, a new process for accomplishing the things that I want to do instead of just another list of things I need to do. I had a whole bunch of to-do lists. I had a whole bunch of like sticky notes and loose pieces of paper with lists of things that I need to do, and it was chaos and confusion. I felt so overwhelmed all the time trying to do all of these things. But this helped me get like a process for how to accomplish the things that I want to do, right? Which in turn actually helped me to be more productive. Like I started to get more things done. It's kind of crazy, actually. But part of that getting more things done was because I had less distractions. Because how the 12-week system works, and I'll get into it a little bit more later, but how it works is like it's an entire system for like getting the things done. It because it takes into account all the things that you're doing throughout the day, all the things that you may have planned out or time blocked. It helps you recognize that you can't get everything done. So it forces you in a way to prioritize only the things that are going to help you accomplish your goal, right? And because of that, you will get more done. And because you're doing the critical or the key things to accomplish your goal, you'll accomplish more goals. Then you'll feel more fulfilled. So, those are some of the things that I got from it. And when you read it, you'll get them too. But if you decide, maybe I don't want to read it, you can continue feeling like how you're feeling, how you feel like you can't get anything done, how you feel like you're stalled, how you feel like you're still looking for just that one thing, that one key piece of information, or that one key thing that's going to help you. You will keep searching for it unless you implement the things from this book. Because really, and in the book, it talks about this too, like you have everything you need. You don't need any extra thing. You don't need any extra piece of information. You don't need any extra tools. You don't need any extra help. You don't need any extra knowledge. You don't need any extra anything. The only thing that you need is to execute. And if you read this book, it will show you how. Okay, so this past time that I was reading the 12-week year, I decided to take some notes, right? And I'm just gonna tell them to you. Maybe not in any particular order, but they all are important perspective changes or little pieces of information that help me to move forward, to feel a little bit less stuck. Some of them are like new ideas, some of them are things that I wasn't even thinking about. Some of them are things I was like, "Ooh, I knew that, but I'm not doing that." So, hopefully these help. The first thing I learned was to discard annualized thinking. So we think about things in terms of a year, right? This is how much I can get done in a year. This is how much I got done this year. This is how much I will get done next year. But the book talks about, instead of thinking about things in terms of a year, compress those 12 months into 12 weeks, right? So when you do that, that like kind of anticipation, that kind of urgency and focus and commitment that you get towards the end of the year, when you know, like, ooh, I really need to get this shit done, or the girls are going to be looking at me crazy. That kind of focus and commitment and anticipation, you can quadruple the amount of that you have in a year. Instead of just having it at the end of the year, you can have it at the end of the first 12 weeks, or you can have it through, the first 12 weeks. You can have it through the second 12 weeks, the third and the fourth. So in doing that, you will also get more done. One of the things in the book I think they said is that great things happened at the end of the year. So if you are kind of always operating like it's the end of the year, then you will get more great things done, right? Another thing they talked about is periodization, right? And that's the concept where you focus or you concentrate on like one skill at a time, right? And I think they might have mentioned that it's like a kind of sports thing or a thing from like a sports background. But it's definitely something that you can use when you're planning, when you're trying to develop yourself, or when you're trying to develop your planning skills or reach more goals, right? When you are using periodization skills, I'm sorry, when you're working in throughout the 12-week year, it forces you to focus on periodization, right? You can't do everything all the time, right? So this system kind of, and I keep saying force, maybe force is not the best word. It allows you to focus on a small number of goals, right? So after you after you create your like long-term vision and then your 3-year vision for your life and your 12 month vision, if you decide to do that part in the book, it's going to, like, the things that you accomplish in the 12-week year will be based off of those goals and those, or based off of those visions, right, for your life, right? So it will force you, I keep saying force, it will have you focus on one specific part of that goal in order to reach it, right? Another great quote from this book, a big aha moment, was, I think it's, in the long run, your actions are always congruent with your underlying thinking. When you focus on changing your actions, your experience incrementally changes. However, when your thinking shifts, everything changes. Another great perspective of this book was what you'll have to sacrifice. I never really thought of that before reading this book, but because you cannot do everything, because everything costs something, whether it's time, money, energy, effort, everything costs something, which means to do this, to accomplish these goals, there's something else that you will have to sacrifice. And this book method of thinking, planning system, whatever you want to call it, the 12-week year helps you to put into your conscious mind what you will have to sacrifice. Some of these things may be your comfort. Some of them may be, your emotional turmoil or whatever. Some of them may be time. You may have to, actually sit down and focus your effort and energy into accomplishing something. And that's going to take away from other things that you could be doing, that you could be watching, that you could be learning or having fun doing. And that's okay. And it also helps to keep you more aligned when you do have those moments where you don't feel like you want to do the thing that you said you would do, when there are more interesting things that you want to do instead. Another thing that I really love about this book that it really puts in my face that I knew but wasn't really actively thinking about is scorekeeping, right? So measuring your results. By this time, I will have this done, and these are the results, right? Scorekeeping is not for the faint of heart. So it's going to require you to execute on the things in order to, keep score on if you are progressing towards your goal, right? One thing that they mentioned is that the score, it doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your intentions. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about the things that you would rather do. It doesn't care about how you feel comfortable in the moment or you don't feel comfortable in the moment. All the score cares about is execution. That's it. Did you do it? Yes or no? How much? And even though in a lot of ways that seems kind of like, ooh, I want someone to be, nicer to me. I want someone to be a little bit more gentler. Having something that honestly isn't a person, because a score isn't a person. A score could never care about how you feel. The score has no concept of feelings. All the score cares about is whether you executed and did the thing you said you were going to do or not. And there's something really like simple about that. And another quote that they have: the reality is that if you're not purposeful about how you spend your time, then you will leave your results to chance. And I'm good. I can't leave my results to chance. I have a specific view of what I want my life to look like, of what I want my business to look like, about what I want to do in life, and I can't just be out here in the wind. I cannot be out here just, oh, maybe it'll happen, oh, maybe it won't. Like I need something that's going to help me get to where I'm trying to go quickly, efficiently, without all the extra. Another concept that was mentioned in the book is accountability as ownership and accountability versus consequences, right? So, to be accountable for something, you have to be accountable. You are the only one who can hold you accountable for something. Now, someone else may be able to give you consequences for not doing things, whether that's emotional consequences, physical, financial consequences, whatever. Someone else can give you consequences, but no one can give you accountability. That's something that you hold for yourself, and you only have accountability when you take ownership of something. However, a lot of us in society kind of feel like accountability is consequences and accountability is punishment for something, and that's not the truth. That's not how accountability is or should be. And a lot of times we're confusing or conflating consequences and accountability, thinking that they're the same thing when they aren't the same thing. They can be closely related, but they're definitely not the same thing. And they mentioned in the book that it's accountability and ownership is the realization that you always have a choice. You can do something else. You can be somewhere else. You can do other things other than this thing. You always have the choice. But what happens afterwards will be a result of that choice. And if you don't want that, whatever happens after, to be left up to chance, to be left up to someone else, to be left up to your attention in the moment, or only your attention in the moment. Some other concepts they go on about or they talk about in the book are interest versus commitment. So being interested in something is not the same as committing, and being interested, you kind of dabble and you pay attention when it's interesting, but being committed is a little bit different. You are committed when you let nothing stop you, and you are committed when something is an obligation, when it's something that you're going to do no matter what. They talk about some other principles and disciplines in the book. So I think the three principles: accountability, commitment, and greatness in the moment, definitely, wow. The five disciplines: vision, planning, process control, measurement, time use, all of those. Sometimes, and this is another reason that I've read this book so many times. Sometimes I just sit here and I look at like the notes that I have, or I'll look at like some of the notes that I've made in my books, and I'm amazed that we never learned about this in school. I'm amazed that like I never knew this, that no one has taught me this, that no one has taught people this as a collective. Like, how to plan something, how to accomplish a damn goal. But everybody's always talking about, oh, you need to accomplish this in order to have XYZ. You need to be doing ABC. You need to be accomplishing these goals. You need to be doing these things, reaching for the stars. But nobody ever teaches anybody how to do that. Like, read this book. Read this book, get this field guide, read the audiobook, whatever you need to do, do it. Do it. Another thing that, like, I almost threw this damn book across the room when I read about this, the emotional cycle of change. So, there are like 5 stages that people go through, like emotionally, when either they're trying to change something or things like in their life are changing, right? I don't remember every single one of them, but I know that, like, okay, so I'm looking at the book again. So the first one is uninformed optimism. So, like, when you think or you see something and you're like, ooh, okay, I think this is going to be a great opportunity. I'm going to see what this is about. I'm going to try this out, right? The second one is informed pessimism. So once you learn a little bit more about the thing or the situation or whatever, you start to think something like, well, maybe this is going to be hard. Or maybe this is going to be a lot of work. This is, not exactly what I expected. The third phase is the valley of despair, right? So this is where you're like, ooh, this is a lot of work. This is going to cost me a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of attention, a lot of effort, money, whatever. Um, and it might cause me a lot of stress. In the book, they mention that, like, this third phase is when most people give up because they get through the because they get to the valley of despair and they feel all the pain of change, the benefits of change, they seem so far away, they don't seem important. So people go back to the beginning with a new opportunity, with a new, piece of content, with a new whatever that they're trying to get away from in order to not feel the negative feelings of change in the moment. So then that fourth step, if you can get past the valley of despair, is informed optimism, which is kind of like, this thing is more difficult and maybe more stressful, more time consuming than I thought, but it is still worth it. It will yield the results that I wanted to. It will give me the outcome that I want, right? And the last one is success and fulfillment. So after you've accomplished the things, you have success and fulfillment, right? I feel like just knowing about this principle can help you push through things so much easier, so much better. Once you have like once you're conscious of it, once you know, oh, this is what's happening. Oh, all these feelings, all these negative feelings I'm having right now, I'm in the valley of despair. So do I want to start over with another thing? Or do I want to continue pushing through this thing? Will it still be worth it? Just being able to vocalize those things, whether it's out loud to another person inside your head, whether just to be able to be conscious of those things, I believe has helped me get so many more things done and to just be more conscious of how I'm feeling and what I want. So if you feel like you're in this place where, ooh, I tried a bunch of different opportunities, ooh, and this is a self read. If you're in that place where you feel like, oh, I've tried a bunch of different opportunities and I try them for a little bit, and it goes great for a little bit, and then all of a sudden it stops working. So then I go and I try something else, and then that thing, it works for a little bit, and then it stops working. And then I'm on to the next new thing, and you feel like you're in this cycle. You may be having an issue with the emotional cycle of change. Once you get to that valley of despair, instead of continuing on, you may be starting over at the beginning with a new thing. When I tell you the realizations in this book, the amount of catharsis I got from this book. Let's see, some other great things from this book. Um, Really establishing your vision. Before I read this book, I was making a lot of to do lists. I had a bunch of sticky notes everywhere. I had a bunch of pieces of paper with lists and things that I wanted to do, that I wanted to try to accomplish, but I didn't really have a vision, what I wanted my life to look like, the kind of things that I wanted to do, the kind of things that I wanted to experience. This book, one thing that I love before you even get to the planning, the tactics, what are you going to do every day, it has you sit down and write out your vision in a few different ways. The long term vision, like where you see yourself in, the future ultimately. And then it has you do like 3 year vision, 12-month vision, things like that, right? And because it kind of has you, or forces you in a way, and force is not bad in this context, I guess. It forces you to really sit and think about what you want, not what you're doing, not how much you can do, not the sense or the feeling of lack that you feel, which motivates you to do more. You don't focus on any of those things. Instead, the 12-week year just forces you to focus on, what do you want? What do you want your life to look like? Where do you want it to go? What do you see yourself doing? What do you see yourself having? What do you see yourself being? And along with having you write out that vision, it also has a bunch of great ways and like tips to keep you connected to that vision. Whether that's posting it somewhere that you readily see it, like where you work all the time, or whether it's telling other people about your vision, whether it's putting it somewhere where it's like easily accessible, it gives you tips to stay connected with that. And then when you have those moments where you don't feel like doing the work, where you don't feel like executing, then you have that vision there to kind of remind you, hey, this is what you want. And you said this is how you're going to get it. So do you want that thing, or do you want the comfort that you have in the moment more? And those kind of self corrections, those kind of mental cues for accountability, whole life 180, completely changed. Another great thing I love about this book is they tell you what to do when shit does not work out. Like, everybody is always like, go, 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 do this thing. If it, just try again, XYZ. Like, this book gives you actual tips on how to correct your own behavior in order to get the things that you want, right? So one of the things that it has in the book is like process control, right? And I believe one of the ways that you do that is with a WHAM, so a weekly accountability meeting, right? So at the end of this weekly accountability meeting, you talk about what you plan to do during the week and did you get those things accomplished, and it has like a specific way to calculate your score based on your tactics and all that good stuff, right? But it also has a section at the end of it where it has like three simple questions, and I wish I could. Okay, so three simple questions, right? Where it helps you make improvements. And those questions are: what's working? What did I do this week that's working, that felt good, that I got accomplished? What's working, right? The second one: where I'm struggling. What did I have issues with? Is there some way I can, help to fix those in the future? And then the last one is actions and commitments. What am I going to do next week or, in the coming weeks? What am I going to do to improve? And just having those three questions: what's working? Where am I struggling? What are my actions and commitments? Just having those can help you make better choices, can help to curb your own negative behaviors. And these are behaviors that you feel are negative, that you feel are hindering you. It gives you so much consciousness about your own actions, about your own time, how you're spending your time. And it's not to say that, like, ooh, if you read this book, then it's going to be productivity all the time, 365. You're never going to be able to relax, or like, it's none of those things. But it's making sure that you get the things accomplished that you said that you wanted to do. And that if you aren't able to get those things accomplished, then look at your behaviors, look at where you're spending your time, look at where you're spending your energy, and come up with some ways where you can redirect that. Another great quote that I wish someone had told me years ago: a plan between your ears is not nearly as effective as a plan on paper. In our experience, you are 60 to 80% more likely to execute a written plan than a plan in your head. Write it down. I wish someone had told me this years ago. Write it down on a piece of paper. You constantly think that, oh, I'll remember it. Oh, I'll remember it. But you will not. Why? Because life is continuing to happen to you every single moment of every single day. This thing is happening. This piece of content is being published. This social media app, this notification, this person is talking to me. This person has my attention. Work. All these other things that are more urgent, where this makes you conscious of what is most important and not what is most urgent. And when you write it down, you will write it down, you'll remember it because it is important. That way, when the urgent things happening, when the urgent things happen, when everyone is trying to get your attention, you can stay grounded and aligned in what it is that you want, instead of what it is that everyone else and everything else wants for you or from you. They also go through some common pitfalls, like about planning your week. Some things like, if you feel like you don't have time, if you feel like you don't need it, if you feel like you're above it, if you feel like you already know it all, if you feel like you don't necessarily want to be held accountable, if you don't want to necessarily hold yourself accountable, it gives you a bunch of common pitfalls and some ways to like navigate around those and to help identify them if that's you, because some of those things that are holding us back we may not be all the way conscious of until someone else puts it in our face. So honestly, check out this book if just for that, if just to get that list of common pitfalls to help you achieve more. Completely worth it. Another thing, they also mention like you don't have to be perfect. Um, they don't expect you to be perfect. No one is going to be perfect. So the way the system is set up, you just need to achieve, I believe it's either 80 or 85% of your actions to get towards your, like, to be likely to hit your goal, right? I believe it's that, yeah, 80 or 85%. If you complete 80% of your tactics and get a weekly score average of 80%, then you will be likely to achieve your goals. This is not true in every single case, specific goal pending, but in most cases, 80% is enough to be sufficient. Another great tip I learned: multitasking is not a virtue. In fact, it lowers your overall productivity and your results. So I believe in the book, like, instead of doing, let's say, five different things, instead of doing five different things and giving a little bit of your energy, you have 100%, right? If you're doing five things and you try to give equal amount of energy to them, you give 20% to each one of these things. 20% is not enough to accomplish really very much of anything. But if you redirected that and tried to accomplish, let's say, two things instead of five, then you have more energy for those two things. Now it's just 50-50, right? And in that example, it's really that less is more, that the fewer things you try to do at one time, the more you will get accomplished. And instead of trying to do those five things at one time and it taking so long, maybe even years, you can focus on those two things and be at 50% and get both of those done faster, and then move on to the remaining three things and get those done faster and everything done faster overall, instead of trying to do too many things at one time and doing them all subpar. You know, another great reason to read this book. So they mentioned fighting your resistance barriers, right? Some of those can be, your resistance barriers can be the need for immediate gratification. It can be big changes. It can be having multiple goals. It can be old habits or even your line of thinking. It gives a whole bunch of resistance barriers and how to fight against them. It also helped me to identify this feeling. It's the feeling where you know that you should be doing this thing. You have everything that you need, all the time, the energy, the space, blah, 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 right? But you are not doing this thing, right? There's a specific feeling that you feel, and it's like an internal stress. Like, I have been able to identify the name of this feeling because of this book, and that is called productive tension. It's the uncomfortable feeling you get when you're not doing the things that you know you need to do. I also learned that the only way to get rid of productive tension is action. You have to do the things. And it also showed me the need for, after you do the things, to take stock of that. What things went great, what things didn't go great, and to actually celebrate. I am not a person who celebrates a lot. I'm a kind of person who is very go, go, go. And after I accomplish something or complete something, I'm immediately moving on to the next thing to do or the next thing to accomplish. And this book really taught me to take a moment and to celebrate. So it's called the 12-week year, and there is like a 13th week where you're supposed to like review things and kind of take stock of everything that happened and kind of pre plan your next 12-week year, and really celebrate. And honestly, that's been such a life changer for me too, because one amazing way to feel fulfilled, one way to feel accomplished is to just celebrate. Celebrate all of the good things you've done, all of the ways you've changed, because if you continue to do this 12-week year, you will change. You will become a better version of yourself. And every milestone, every period that you commit to this, you should celebrate it. Another thing that it mentioned, you are capable of great things. You have everything you need to be great right now. Not in the future, not with somebody else's assistance, not with the perfect piece of knowledge, not with the perfect this or that. You have everything that you need to be great right now. This book, this field guide, so valuable. If you want to improve the accountability in your life, if you want to improve the productivity in your life, if you want to feel more fulfilled, if you want to develop yourself, if you want to improve your life, your business, your spiritual development, if you want to improve your financial health, if you want to improve your relationships with people, read this book. Read this book. Read this book and use the things in this book to be a better you. And if this content was valuable, be sure to look in that description link and join the email list so you don't miss anything like this.